Artist Chief. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Artist Chiefs. Today I've got a very special guest, Mr. Arrowhead Tom. Arrowhead Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great. We have a fresh schedule drop. It's like I know the NFL wants this to be like the biggest thing in the off season. You know, it's not like we just went through the draft, but it's an exciting time. We're one day closer to actual football, and so we get to start thinking about it more, and that's exciting to me.
Oh, for sure, man. And the NFL is great about marketing. Heck, even the preseason game, like OTAs, you name it, we're all just excited for just anything. Like, we're just ravenous for this sport. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is. Now, to the folks at home, the viewing and listening audience, this will be on YouTube and on all podcast platforms. Tom and I don't know the schedule. It's the day of. It's Thursday. It's Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 35, and we both held off on the internet for a little while just so we wouldn't know, so we could go in fresh and record this podcast and our reactions. So yeah. I'm going to let Tom, you go ahead and you start us off, and we'll figure out what's going on with the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, and then I just got back from the dog park with my dog, so I'm like pulling it up, looking at it, going, oh, we're going to talk about this. So we open week 1 at Arizona. That's Sunday, September 11th, so it'll be an interesting it's a 3:25 Central Time game.
Nice.
I'm not worried about the Cardinals. I think I'm excited to see what this young defense is going to get to do against Kyler Murray, who I think we've seen, if you rattle him, can really make some, like, it could be a really good way to start the season in terms of getting some confidence for these young guys.
Yeah, and the Cardinals usually start off pretty hot, but I'm not concerned about them. What's the name of their head coach? I can't remember his name.
Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliff Kingsbury. That guy is so overrated. I don't understand. Like, he had Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And he won. And people say, well, he didn't have a defense, blah, blah, blah. Well, go out and recruit a defense, my man.
Yeah, go get a defense, man. You're in charge.
You're in charge. And I will peel back the curtain. There are like 3 games I knew. That one did get leaked to me earlier. I was aware of that. I didn't know it was September 11th, and I didn't know it was 325. I personally 325 games. I can travel up that day, maybe come back that night.
Yeah, well, that's at Arizona, so unless you're going to
okay.
Yeah, that's an away game.
You're right. It's the home opener we all were made aware of a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they spoiled that during the draft. So yeah, we can get to that. That's number 2. So it's a short turnaround. It's a Thursday night game. This is kind of the first bad break on the schedule for the Chiefs. Not only do you have a short turnaround, but you have a divisional game against the Los Angeles Chargers. That is at home, a Thursday night game. That one's going to be – that's a tough matchup, right? That's probably within the division, the Chargers are the team that are nipping at the Chiefs' heels, the closest. And it sucks that they start the season – they start the series against the division opponents on a short week.
Yeah, that is brutal when you bring that up. Yeah, short week against a divisional rival who really, really wants to beat us. Both games last season were pretty close. One was in overtime. They're coming. It's not going to be an easy walkthrough game. I know the Chargers are probably going to charge her by the end of the season, but Justin Herbert's pretty good. I don't think he's like super great, but he's pretty darn good. It's going to be a tough matchup.
It's a tough matchup, and like I said, that just makes me nervous just in terms of that short. That's such a short, and it would be one thing if for that to be week 2, if they were playing at home week 1, right? So like if you had a home game and then you got to stay and rest for those 4 days, but they're probably not even going to get back till late Sunday night, maybe Monday morning, and then they have a football game against a divisional opponent in 3 days. That starts off on a tough break, but then they get a little bit of a reprieve. Hopefully a team that I don't think will be too competitive. Week 3, they're at Indianapolis against the Colts. That's a noon game. So they're, it starts out away, home, away. The Colts are better team than what I think they finished as last year. Jonathan Taylor, who was on the board at 32 when the Chiefs took Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I have not forgiven them for. But Jonathan Taylor is an absolute stud.
Even know that, Tom? Oh my God! Yeah,
What?
I mean, I'm not like super into the rest of the NFL. At least, if certain games are on, yeah, I'm gonna watch them if they're like good games. But like, I didn't really know who he was until like later on in the season, and everybody was talking up John Taylor. Like,
Yeah,
dude.
I watched him at Wisconsin. I was like, this guy is going to be a stud. This is an A+ runner, and they were like, oh, he can't catch the pass, except he's got better receiving yard or better receiving statistics than Clyde Edwards-Helaire by a mile. But we're not going to talk about that. Kyle will get mad if he hears it. So I expect that to be a good game for them. Another one to test that young defense, right? One of the things that they struggled with was, stopping the run. They added Karlaftis, they added Chanel, they added Cooks. Like, they got stronger up the middle. They should be better against the run. It'll be tough early on. Yeah, fingers crossed.
And can you remind us who their quarterback is? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Which old retired guy?
I mean,
Matt Ryan. It was Matt Ryan now. Yeah.
Matt
no longer
Ryan.
Carson. Yeah. So they've done Phillip Rivers. They went Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Yeah. So they've cycled through some, it's the island of misfit quarterbacks in Indianapolis.
Right. All right. Well, who we got next?
All right. Next is so it's a Sunday night game, and it's at Tampa Bay. So that kicks off October. So 7:30 p.m. Central Time on NBC.
Yes.
Tom Brady versus Mahomes. We thought we weren't ever going to see it again. We get to see it for what maybe the last time. There's going to be a lot of talk around that game. Yeah, your shirt says it all. Brady sucks. There'll be a lot of talk on that game. I think this is an important game for Mahomes to kind of even things up. I think Brady has the 1 game advantage in head-to-head after that Super Bowl.
3 like that.
Yeah, I think it's 3-2. Or maybe it's 4-3. It's close. Yeah. So I think that'll be a talking point. Tony Romo will probably bring something up about legacies and jinx the whole thing. But that's a Sunday night game at Tampa Bay. So that's 2 back-to-back. So that's 3 out of their first 4 games are on the road, which is a tough way to start the season.
And we're missing. I know this is a little off topic, but on topic. Didn't Al Michaels retire or go to Amazon? I forget which.
I don't know. That's a great question. I'm not sure.
I'm honest. I know the Fox guys went to ESPN Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I don't follow the announcers too much because I kind of tune them out. And Romo is one, and Harlan. If Kevin Harlan's calling the game, I'll listen to him. But the rest, and of course, if I've got if I'm able to listen to Mitch Holtis, I'll listen to Mitch all day. But everybody else kind of sounds the same, and I'm just watching the game. So tough matchup against Tampa Bay. The Chiefs come home. They get an extra day of rest. So they have a Monday night game, Week 5, October 10th, against the Raiders, 7:15 Central Time. It's on ESPN. So it's a nice return home. It's a good hopefully if they drop that one to the Chargers week 2, this is a good chance to get back into the divisional, get something back on the division, gain some traction there. So that's going to be a important game. I would say a big game. I keep forgetting that Josh McDaniels is the head coach of the Raiders. Sometimes I think yeah, man, the Raiders might put it together. The Raiders might. Oh, Josh McDaniels. Never mind. We've already seen this once.
Do I have this confused? Wasn't he supposed to be Belichick's heir apparent?
He was, and then he was supposed to be the Indianapolis Colts head coach, and then backed out in the final hour. Actually, after it had been reported and announced, and then after that, he went back to New England. And I think once Brady left New England, he was like, "I'm gonna get out of here," and he went. If I were Josh McDaniels, what a time to join the AFC West, bro! What are you thinking? And on top of that, you're joining and I'm not saying the Raiders haven't gotten better, but you're joining, one of the two bottom dwellers in the division. So good luck to Josh McDaniels. I don't worry about that. I've seen that man coach as a head coach, and by the way, just on this rant, it is a shame that Josh McDaniels, who was terrible for the Denver Broncos organization, got a second chance as a head coach before Eric Bieniemy got a first chance. Just putting that out there.
Well, I'll throw this out there. Dude, with all the recent events with the Raiders in the last year, why on earth would you pick them over going someplace like the Colts? I know, was it Jim Irsay, whatever their owner's name is? He's kind of a kook. But, dude, you're walking into a terrible organization from all accounts. Last year, they had a bunch of people in corporate just walk out. And they got a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of murky water. We're not sure what's going on, if they're, abusing women in the workplace or just what is going on. Oh, but it does not sound good. Why on earth would you want to walk into that?
Yeah. It's a tough situation, but I would not have joined the Raiders. I would have stayed in New England and waited for Bill to retire if those were my options. So the Chiefs stay at home again the next week, week 6. This is one you want to circle on your calendar. October 16th against the Buffalo Bills. So that's a big game, and that's a 3:25 Central Time on CBS. That's going to be, man. The Chiefs, they've got 3 primetime games. Actually, how's the Bills game not a primetime game? That's kind of crazy to me. So they've got 3 primetime games in the first 5 weeks, and then the matchup with the Bills. We're going to talk about this team a lot, and they've got some tough matchups. It's going to be pretty intense early. They've got a tough schedule. So, I do want to talk about this. So the first 6 weeks. So you have at the Cardinals, home against the Chargers, at the Colts, at the Buccaneers, at the Raiders, at the Bills. Wow, words. Raiders at home, Bills at home. What do you expect that those records to look like at the end of 6 games?
I mean, I'm 20-0 until proven otherwise. I wouldn't be drop 2.
I think.
Well, I just want to say real quick. So far, we're talking about absolute much watch. I can't get it out.
I did it. It's contagious.
I mean, my God.
Yeah. That it's a brutal slate to start the season. I think if at week 6, if you're sitting at 4-2, you should be excited. If you're sitting at 3-3, you shouldn't panic, right? So as Chiefs fans, we're used to better starts than that. This is a tough slate. So it gets a little bit easier after week 6 for a little bit. Then it gets hard again. So week 7, they're at San Francisco. I would expect that to be a game that they can handle. I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo will be the quarterback. I don't know if Trey Lance will be the quarterback. I think overall the 49ers are kind of in a weird transitional place, and the Chiefs should handle their business there. What do you think, Corey?
If we know anything, they'll probably drop a game to the 49ers and then beat everybody else, or I mean? No, but you're right. It feels like a game they can handle. I agree.
Yeah. So this next one bummed me out. They are October 30th. They are on a bye week. And historically, the Chiefs have done pretty well on Halloween week or Halloween games. So I was a little sad to see that. I wanted to go to a Halloween game at Arrowhead. So we'll have to wait or celebrate that. I guess we'll just have to wait till next year.
Well, Tom, I mean, if you want to go to a Halloween game, just come hang out with me and my buddies. We'll be dressed up and wearing makeup and chains and all kinds of stuff. It's every week.
So the Chiefs get a bye week and a late Sunday night game coming off the bye, week 9, and they're back at home against the Titans. That might be a game that I try to go to, just because I feel like that's going to be a good matchup and that the Chiefs are probably going to win. I don't think the Titans are as good as they were last year, especially early on in the season. So we'll see. That'll be a good one. So that's November.
That's a revenge game for us off a bye. We should be really like the Chiefs anyway should really up for that.
Yeah, yeah. That's at home, so that'll be that. Like I said, that'll be a good one. The Chiefs stay at home again, so they start the first four, or 3 of the first 4. They're on the road, and then weeks 5 through 10, they're at home. It looks like, yeah, 5 through 10, they're at home all but 1 week, which is at San Francisco. So week 10, they're back at home. Noon game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do we need to worry about the Jaguars, Corey?
No.
No.
Love it.
All right. So if you're not a fan of 325 games, you're going to hate most of late November. So week 11, November 20th, at Los Angeles Chargers, 325 Central Time. Week 12. Do you have anything about to say about the at Chargers matchup, or do you want me to keep going? I don't want to cut you off. Yeah, so this is a brutal matchup. So you have at Chargers, probably a really important divisional game, especially if the Chargers get that early win. Mm-hmm. You have back at home against the Rams.
Whoa.
Right? The next week.
Whoa.
On Sunday. Yeah, so that's week 12. And then week 13, you're on the road at Cincinnati. So you get the Super Bowl, the past 2 teams in the Super Bowl in back-to-back weeks. Wow. And I'm going to go ahead and read the next one. After Cincinnati, you have at Denver Sunday night. So you have the Super Bowl champs sandwiched between 2 divisional games late in the season. And that is tough. That's going to be, I think.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would say that's going to be that's probably going to be if not the hardest part of the schedule, the second hardest part of the schedule outside those first 6 weeks.
I don't know if you've seen Avengers Infinity War, but when Spider-Man sitting there and he's on the bus and the alien spaceship shows up and his hair just sticks up, man, yeah. I just got real like I've seen we've all seen the opponents. We know who they're going to play. But when you hear it like that, like, bro, that is tough.
Yeah. That is a tough. Like I said,
I believe in Kansas City. I really do. I think our defense has really improved. But good grief, that's a rough schedule right there. At least that portion of it. Wow.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Now, thankfully, gets a little bit easier after that. So they're on the road at Houston, week 15. They play Christmas Eve at home. Might be another game that's worth going to. So December 24th at the Seahawks. And then, continuing holiday cheer, New Year's Day, January 1st, they've got the Denver Broncos at home. So I don't know about you, Corey, but I can't think of a better way to start 2023 than watching the Chiefs take on the Broncos and absolutely hand it to them in Arrowhead. I think that's definitely one I'm going to have circled on my calendar to make it to. So that New Year's Eve or New Year's Day game is going to be rocking. So
heck yeah.
So don't party too hard on New Year's Eve, Chiefs Kingdom. We need you at Arrowhead. It's a noon game, so unfortunately you can't sleep it off. You gotta show, or just don't sleep at all and show up.
There you go.
But make sure you Uber, drive safe. And then they finish the week. They've got a flex game. It could be Saturday or Sunday, January 7th or January 8th at Las Vegas. And so that's kind of a nice those last 4 games. That's a good way to end the year. I think all 4 of those are, 2 of them I would be shocked, the Texans and Seahawks, if they dropped those games. And then the last 2, they're divisional games, so they're hard, but the Chiefs have, come out on top in most of those games. And 2 of them are at home, the Seahawks and Broncos. And then the Texans, the Chiefs could play the Texans on the moon, and the Chiefs are going to win 99 times out of 100. So, yeah, I'm not worried about that game. So that's a good way to end the schedule, end the year, especially as you're trying to, improve your playoff seeding. So what do you think, Corey?
I'd say your last comment, just don't say that to our new safety, Justin Reed, okay? I go ahead. Sorry.
He's one of the good guys now. He knows.
Yeah, mum's the word here. I got plenty to say about him that is extremely positive. Keep your eyes peeled. I've known the strength of schedule just from looking at the opponents. I've known it's going to be brutal. Um, I just think that Patrick Mahomes needs to shut up all of his haters and in the Chiefs as well. Like, I don't want Mahomes to go down like Brady, where he played in this horrible division for like 20 years, won a bunch of Super Bowls, but he didn't really play a lot of tough divisional rivals. I mean, this is tough. We got the first place schedule. I mean, we're playing. Our AFC West divisional rivals have really improved. I'm not really sold on the Raiders, but they do have Devontae Adams. They'll probably perform about the same as they do year in and year out. I'm not really sure about the Broncos. They have a really good defense, and my question mark there is just with Russell Wilson. Is he going to be the Russell Wilson of old, or is he going to be the Russell Wilson of last year? And it's hard to say right now. The Chargers are very tough. I'm not going to just disgrace them and be like, Chargers are going to Charger and just,
But
they probably will.
Yeah.
It's just such a week to week league. It's not easy. It's never. I feel very confident after the draft, and it's just going to be a question of, can these new rookie players adapt to the NFL? Can they play at this level? And I think we've got a lot of veterans, and I think we have some new players. Like, I think Justin Reed is actually a very good leader. I think he's going to be a very good replacement for Tyrann Mathieu. I'm not sure his skill set just yet. I don't know that. Didn't watch a bunch of Texans games last year. I couldn't really tell you, but we've got a lot of good dudes on this roster. I think we have some leadership that's going to enter in, and I always believe Patrick. We have Travis Kelce, who's going to probably go down as the absolute best tight end in the league. We've got you could argue maybe the best head coach of all time outside of the rings, but he's at least number 2 in my mind. I don't know what else to say. I feel like they're just going to go right back to the AFC Championship game, and I'm going to throw this out there. I believe they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. I really do.
Yeah, I think that they will always have a puncher's chance with Patrick Mahomes. I think it's going to hinge a lot on if this defense improves as much as it can. And again, especially late in the year, like, as much as it's about getting the number 1 seed in the bye week, all that stuff, that's important. What's more important is momentum. And I'm looking at the end of that schedule. I'm going, okay, if this young defense kind of starts to click, we saw it start late last year, or we saw a slow start from them last year. But if we see this team really put together, it's a little bit different, because these aren't veterans who are learning a system. These are young guys who are learning the system, and then they can really let their athletic potential show. If they get hot at the end of December, in early January, heading into the playoffs, and they get some confidence, right? And if hopefully guys like Justin Reed and L'Jarius Sneed, Juan Thornhill, even Nick Bolton, I think they're going to look to as guys who, even though it's his second year, like, and Willie Gay, Chris Jones especially, like, that defense has to find a voice. It has to have a unified voice and really play as a cohesive unit. And Pat's going to take care of everything on offense. And I know there's wrinkles there too, new receiving core and all that. But you've got Travis Kelce, you've got Patrick Mahomes, Mecole Hardman quietly had a decent year last year. I expect bigger things from him. You've got starting caliber receivers all over. I agree with you. It's a tough schedule, and it's hard to say, oh yeah, this or that. I think that at minimum, I'm comfortable saying they'll make the playoffs, and as long as they're in the dance, they have a chance to win it all. And I think that's Andy Reid's philosophy, and it starts with winning the division. And so, yeah, the Chargers were tough last year. I need to look at that. I didn't know we actually have to. It's time. We usually crown them division champs around this time during the offseason. So I didn't know if you were aware that the Chargers won the 2022 offseason Super Bowl again, as they've done for the last 6, 7, 8 years. So Chargers. Justin, your ring and trophy is in the mail. It's on the way. Just sit tight, young man. But yeah,
wait a minute. Is it Green Bay or Dallas that's going to be in the Super Bowl? That's what I want to know because they're always used pretty early too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but I just know that the Chargers won already, so we can just skip the season.
Just fold it in.
Yeah. So that said, the Chargers are always tough. Who knows what to think of the Raiders? I'm not scared of Josh McDaniels. I think they have the potential to finish the bottom. The Broncos are the real wild card here because they do have a good defense, or at least they had a good defense under Vic Fangio. That system has changed, so we'll see how that looks. They went out and got Russell Wilson, who might be the most on-brand quarterback for the Denver Broncos. He's just like some franchises have a type, and Russell Wilson is definitely the Broncos type.
He's a little short for them, but yes.
Yeah, a little short.
Did you want to dive into Broncos there for a second? Or
yeah, we always want to dunk on the Broncos any chance we get.
I mean, what is the deal with them just in these like cringeworthy kind of personality types? Like Russell Wilson's got all these, he's just done nothing but cringe stuff online and commercials, like magazine covers. Paxton Lynch was doing weird TikTok stuff, and Drew Lock's like down by like 21 in a game, and he'll be on the sideline just doing a jig for the cameras. Like, what is up with these guys?
I was just thinking I might offend some listeners, but it just feels like all the Broncos quarterbacks in the last decade, since Peyton Manning, were they all homeschooled? I don't. They just have that like uncomfortable. Like, I'm sure they're nice people, but you're just like, have you ever talked to another human before? Like, do you know how to interact with people?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's the social skills. We're not talking about like you're homeschooled and you're not smart. Just
Again, I apologize for any homeschoolers that I've offended. I do apologize, but I also know that you don't have the social skills to confront me about it. So moving on.
That was funny.
Is this where you tell me that you were homeschooled and I have to leave the podcast?
Yeah, you're.
Just kick me out.
No, I'm just a college dropout like everybody else. I went to high school.
Okay, good.
Got my college, my high school diploma. Clearly, I didn't graduate college.
So, well, it's not how you start; it's about how you finish, which is it's going to be very important for this year to be patient. Going back to the Chiefs' schedule, like I said, we got a little bit of a soft landing, but there's going to be. It starts off tough, and there's that middle section after that Jaguars game, weeks 11 through 14, that are just going to be tough. Now. One of those games is the Broncos at the very end. So you get the Broncos and the Texans. Yeah, so that's again, I just keep kind of discounting the Broncos because I don't know how good Russell Wilson's going to be. I know that he didn't look the same in Seattle the last year. If we get the Russell Wilson that went toe-to-toe with Mahomes in 2018, man, those games are going to be interesting. If we get the Russell Wilson from last year, I'm not sure that that's a huge leap from Drew. I mean, it's an improvement, but probably not a huge leap from Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater. So we're just going to have to wait and see on that one. But it's going to be a fun season, guys. I'm convinced of that, if nothing else. A lot of new faces, a lot of young faces. Brett Veach has done some real work on this roster, and we should be excited about that and excited about where it goes because, I mean, you would have to be pretty crazy to already be watching 2023 NFL draft prospects. But I hear that it's a good draft class, and there are some really good prospects that people have watched that could be good for the Chiefs. But more on that at another time.
You're crazy, right? We got it. We understood.
Yeah. This is the context there. So,
no, I mean, Veach totally killed it in the draft, and it's so hard to say when you grade a draft. Like you can say, and I listened to your podcast, the Kingdom Says podcast, and I kind of forgot your grade. I think you wanted to keep it at a plus. Was that right?
I was being a little hard. I was like, I think I said I think I said a B plus plus, and they were like, "Do you mean an A minus?" I said, "No,
Yeah,
a B plus
you
plus."
wouldn't give them the A. I remember.
Yeah.
But
I'm a tough grader.
I know, but all I'm trying to say is like, let's say I give them an A plus. Well, they still have to perform. They haven't actually played in this league yet. They don't. Like, I'm talking from a fan perspective. Like, I'm the fan guy on every episode. When you're watching college football, there's only going to be like, even on like the best of teams, there's probably like maybe 4 or 5 guys that are NFL worthy. And that's why you see a lot of crazy plays, because no one can defend these guys if they're on offense, or on defense. They're just going to keep crushing the quarterback or making picks or whatever. There's only a few guys on each team that can play in the NFL. So the NFL is just the best of the best, as we know. A lot of guys aren't used to that speed. They're not used to playing everyone, every on the roster is like about as good as they are.
Yeah.
So, like I said, like I would give Veach an A, maybe a solid A, and I hope that they all turn out to play that well.
Yeah. I agree, and that's part of the evaluation. So it's like you watch a Division III guy, and he tears it up, and that's great. Like Colin Saunders is a perfect example. Went to Western Illinois University. I know a lot about Western Illinois. I had family who went there. I had some friends who went there. He looked like Aaron Donald, and people are like, "Oh, he's Aaron Donald of Division III," and in that context, he was, but he was a big fish in a small pond. And now he's just a fish in a pond, a much bigger pond, and we haven't figured, he hasn't really developed necessarily, and we'll see how. And that's Colin's a great guy, and I hope that we see another step from him. But that's just a good example of what you're talking about. And when you're watching college players, that's where you kind of look for those matchups against, other NFL draft picks. If you can find other first round talents that they've played against, that's huge. So like, watching the Washington versus USC game and trying to see how Trent McDuffie covers Drake London, who went number 8 in the draft. One of my personal favorites is if you're listening to this, the Wisconsin versus Iowa game. And I mentioned this on the Kingdom Says when we were talking about the draft. If you go back and watch what Leo Chanel did to Tyler Lindenbaum, who is the Ravens' first round pick, the center there, I've never seen a linebacker treat an offensive lineman that badly. I mean, like, you would have thought that it was Chris Jones lined up over him, and they kept doing it. They just put Chanel, like, they were lining him up pretty much as a defensive tackle. He was standing up, but he's just standing in the gap, like right there. And Tyler Lindenbaum had to just look up after the snap and just go, "Damn it!" Like, he's there again. Like, he just threw that kid around, and so it's stuff like that where you look and you go, okay, there's some potential here against those guys who are going to be good and play at the next level. But it's tough. You also watch the All-Star games, the Reese's Senior Bowl. The 2 corners that they took late. Sorry, now we're getting into the draft. You started this. The 2 corners that they took both had really good Senior Bowls. Josh Williams started a little slow, but I think it was Daniel Jeremiah who talked about how, like, he just looked like he belonged by the end of the week. Like, he looked like this was a level that he was supposed to be playing at. And then Jalen Watson was another guy. They said that you could make the argument that he had the best week of any defensive back down in Mobile this year. So that's a pretty big compliment. We see a lot of those guys. So if you are even just casually watching, like, the draft stuff, especially because it's in Kansas City this year, next, is it February, March, when the Senior Bowl rolls around, pay attention, because you see a lot of guys rise. You see a lot of guys from smaller schools that'll be later round picks, like Joshua Williams, like Jalen Watson, who that's their first chance to cut their teeth against higher competition, and a lot of it's make or break for those guys.
By the way, I may or may not have started a painting of Mr. Leo Chanel.
Oh, okay. You got to let me know, because he's kind of. I didn't love the pick at first. I'm trying to, like, temper my expectations just because I get excited very easily. But holy cow, if his attitude and his play style translates to the NFL, they're going to have an absolutely like a demolition crew at linebacker between Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal, and Willie Gay. You're talking about guys who love to hit. And one of the things that they talk about with Chenal, his weakness in coverage, it's the exact same thing they talked about with Nick Bolton. And Nick Bolton, like he's so smart as a football player, but you still have to, that's part of it. Chenal has the athletic profile to cover. Like his RAS score is up there with Willie Gay. I just hope that Nick Bolton can help the other two understand, a little bit better, because Nick Bolton does so much better. So if we see that same development from that whole linebacker crew in terms of the understanding of coverage, and Leo Chenal as a blitzer is as good as you're going to find of a linebacker going back 5-10 years in terms of an off-ball linebacker, blitzing.
Well, just coming from the fan perspective, that's what I do. I'm not as knowledgeable as you, dude. You grow up. I assume he grew up in America. I mean, his name sounds French. I don't really know. I know his name is Leopold. Dude, you can't grow up named Leopold without getting teased a little bit. And for you to go on the football field and take a Sharpie and write death row on one of your arms, you better be a badass. And from all accounts, he is. So that's where I'm like, dang, man, like this kid might be for real, you know what I'm saying? And then not to listen to you talk, some other people talk about him. I mean, it would be so great to have a great linebacking core. I mean, we had how many years with Derek Johnson? Like a decade or more?
Yeah, he was the only guy holding it down.
The only guy holding it down, though, but he was holding it down, We had some good hits against some folks, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
That's for the YouTube audience. Sorry, podcasters.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be so awesome if he turns out great. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see. I'm just excited to see how that he was born and raised in Wisconsin, went and played college in Wisconsin. So, looks like he was at Grantsburg High School. Looks like it was a small school. He has that vibe of one of those like, the corn-fed country boys. Like probably was raised on a farm and went out and milked the cows and then wrangled and then went off to football practice.
Older and
yeah. That's the vibe. I don't know if that's true or not. Well, maybe one day, but man, Leo Chenal, just another guy to be excited about in this class. But that's big fan of that pick.
All right, let's do one last question before we wrap up the show. I'm curious, Mr. Tom, what game are you most looking forward to for the Kansas City Chiefs? You have this in front of you. I do not. I've just been listening to you. I'm a terrible listener. I'm gonna have to go back and look at some of this, but I mean, if you could go to one game, don't worry about your schedule, your work, whatever you got in your personal life. Just one game you could go to. Which one would it be? Regular season? No, Glendale, Arizona in February.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay.
I can filibuster too.
You what?
I can filibuster if you need me to while you're thinking.
Filibuster. I'm gonna go. Like I said, I wish there was a game on Halloween. I'm gonna go with the next best one, which is New Year's Day, that Denver Broncos game. Yeah,
I remember.
Just because I think it's gonna be a win. I am 5-1 when I attend Arrowhead. We're not going to talk about the one. So try to keep that record as pristine as possible. And then just being there on New Year, like I said, that's how you start the new year, watching the Chiefs kick the Broncos front teeth in. So that's how I'd be. What about, you don't have the schedule in front of you? You don't have any games? Can I tell you which game you should go to?
I mean, I didn't get the Seahawks time. I don't think that's going to work out for me, but
it's a noon game.
Yeah, but it's on the 24th. I was really looking forward to going to that one. I just know a Seahawks fan. I wanted to go with him and take him. He's never been to Arrowhead, but
yeah,
we work together, and that's not going to work.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Well, as a consolation, you could always go.
I mean, I prefer, like, if I have any choice, I'm going in October. Like,
Yeah.
cool weather, that barbecue smells in the air everywhere. It's not so
Oh,
hot anymore. I mean, it's heaven. It's like
yeah,
maybe
perfect.
like 60 degrees out. You're not sweating in your jersey. You can go
Yeah.
crazy with fire.
Well,
That January 1st game for me personally, yeah, that's pretty ideal because I don't want to talk about that W word, but whenever December is over, it's a big relief. Let's just keep it at that. So that's kind of
yeah,
like, going on vacation for me would be like going
yeah,
to the January 1st and seeing them play the
yeah.
Broncos. Yeah.
You guys hear that? Corey wants tickets to that January 1st. You guys can complete your Christmas shopping for us early right now.
Right.
Tickets are available online. Just go grab them and send them our way. You
Go,
talked about
go
October.
to
There is
fund,
one game. What?
go to GoFundMe.com for
Yeah,
Tom and Corey.
yeah. One game in October. This is almost my pick. So you brought up like the perfectness. Swing for the fences, go big. Buffalo Bills, October 16th, 3:25 at Arrowhead. Man,
And I went last year, and it was like a monsoon,
yeah,
Arrowhead. And there was a lot of negativity. It just didn't feel right. The whole Geehaw Field thing, like the
yeah,
curse is real.
yeah. I will say this though. Couple things. I know things are tense between Buffalo and Kansas City because they've kind of become rivals and all that.
And their Twitter fans,
Um,
by the way, Chiefs, like Bills Mafia Twitter, like, you need to calm down, okay?
yeah. Chiefs Kingdom has some people we gotta rein in, but
Fair enough. Fair
uh,
enough. Sorry, Bills fans.
I will say this: if there is a franchise that understands Kansas City's like the hard year, they just mirror each other as franchises so well. And I always go back to, um, Lamar Hunt and Ralph Wilson were friends. Uh, they were both. I believe they're both original AFL teams. Man, and Josh Allen. Like if Patrick Mahomes didn't exist, if we didn't like Josh Allen was the guy that I would want to be our quarterback, right? Like, give me the spread, the pick of the litter. I don't care about Aaron Rodgers. I don't care about anyone else. I'll take Josh Allen because he's
I
at
agree.
times. I would even
I
say he may be as entertaining to watch as Patrick Mahomes, and that's what makes this matchup so special. And it's hard. It sucks if they lose. It's great if they win. All that stuff. But at the end of the day, we need to like sit back from a historical perspective and just appreciate how great. I mean, this is the modern rendition of Manning Brady. That's what we have in front of us when Allen and Mahomes play each other. And we just need to like sit in awe of that sometimes.
All right, so we're booked. You and I are going to the game in October. Bills Chiefs. Got it.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. So maybe if we get those Christmas tickets early.
and for the YouTube audience, the reason I'm wearing this T-shirt, like, I just feel like you want to call Brady the GOAT, that's fine. Like, go ahead. Like, he's got the rings. He's got all the, he's maybe a bit of a stat compiler just by playing for a gazillion years, like 30 years in the league. I just feel like when you watch a guy like Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or maybe even Aaron Rodgers, you're going, wow, I've never seen that before. That guy is exciting. He's, he's great. He just leaps off the television screen, and I've just never once in my life thought that about Brady, even before I really started kind of having these feelings. So, no offense to Brady or Brady fans, just I can't call the GOAT somebody who I don't find that interesting as a football player. That's all.
Yeah.
God bless you, your fans and Patriots fans. God bless you.
Yeah. I just saw this tweet. I'm looking at my phone while on the podcast, but per Adam Schefter, the Chiefs were the first team in NFL history to start the season with 8 straight games against teams that had a winning record in the previous season. So if you want to know how hard that stretches, and by the way, of those 8 teams, all but 2 of them had double-digit wins. Win totals. So it's going to be brutal. Hang in there till the bye, guys.
Yeah, I think we'll be all right. All right, Tom, tell us where we can find you. Tell us about your podcast. I kind of mentioned that in short. Where can we find you online, and can you tell us about your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Twitter at Arrowhead Tom. Pretty easy, spelled exactly how it's spelled. Um, I get to co-host the Kingdom Says podcast, which is at the Kingdom Says Pod on Twitter with two great guys, Kyle Henning, who is Kathan. I should know their Twitter handles. Kathan16
16.
and Garrett, who is I'm not looking them up right. I am Garrett Garrett 720. So those are my co-hosts. Make sure you're following them if you're following me. They are both great guys. We've both been, man, our schedules lately have been kind of crazy this last year for me. I just moved to Kansas City. You know that, and probably some of your listeners do, but I just moved here back in March. So we've not covered as much of the off season. We had a great draft recap episode, and I'm sure we'll squeeze another one here in soon now that the schedule's out. But yeah, just those are some great guys with, good knowledge of the game, and I'm lucky to co-host a podcast with. I'm lucky that they let me hang out with them, because most of the time I'm just like, can we talk about the draft yet? And they're like, no, Tom, it's still the day after this last draft, and they keep me in check. But they're great. They're part of the Say It Again network, and it's just been awesome to work with those guys.
Yeah, all three guys, including Tom, are great dudes. It's a really good podcast. If you haven't noticed, Tom is super into the draft. He knows his shit. Pardon my. I don't usually curse on this podcast. I'm sorry.
Now you get the explicit tag. I tried to avoid it.
Listening, I know they are. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, to the listeners, like, Tom really knows the draft stuff. So until, the preseason starts, just keep listening to his show for his input on a lot of these guys that are drafted. And make sure and listen, subscribe, rate, and review Kingdom Says podcast. It's a great podcast. It's top notch. All right, Tom, I appreciate having you on the show. And as always, let's go Chiefs.